What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, and we're returning to the 1985 album Crush. The title track of this album was blocked by YouTube's algorithms, so I ended up having to post that on Patreon. I'm sure some of you already know this. I'm currently posting this reaction on Patreon because I'm sorting out some very ridiculous copyright issues related to my YouTube channel, but I'm reasonably confident that I will be able to begin posting on YouTube again soon, though it remains to be seen if you are actually watching this on YouTube. It might be another one where I have to post a teaser and then a link to the full reaction over here on Patreon. In any case, the next track is intriguingly titled 88 Seconds in Greensboro, and I say intriguingly because people who know mid-20th century, even late 20th century American history will be aware Greensboro has been a site of some notable race-related historical events and movements, meaning the sit-in protests of 1960 were part of a major chapter in the civil rights movement and the attempt for more equitable political, social, and economic rights for black people and other minorities in the South. And then in the late 70s, there was a race-related massacre where members of the KKK and I think the Nazi Party ended up shooting some protesters who were organizing a march denouncing the KKK. So 88 Seconds in Greensboro sounds like it could relate to the latter. I feel like if there is a connection to the significant socio-political, racial history aspects of Greensboro, that's the one I think would maybe fit with the title because, violence can play out very quickly. Nevertheless, it might be completely unrelated to those things, so I don't quite know what to make of it other than, again, as someone who studied American history in my undergraduate and graduate days, I am inclined to think that there may be a connection there, and the phrasing of the title sounds like something that can transpire very quickly but might be quite significant. So either way, I'll try to catch what I can on a first listen. This is Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. The tune is 88 Seconds in Greensboro, and it's from their 1985 album Crush. like that one rolls right into the next tune. So yeah, I'll start sonically. I enjoy it. It has that, just to my ears and brain, and as someone, again, who was a single digit kid in the 80s, it just reminds me of music I heard on the radio and, my older sister, older brother playing when I was a kid. It sounds like that vintage 80s pop meets rock sort of sound. I will say, like, there's certain aspects of this sonically that remind me a bit of like an Echo and the Bunnymen tune from the same time. Now, again, I get it. Like, sometimes I make these associations, and fans of one band or another aren't particularly fond of it. For me, like, number one, it's always a positive association if I'm making those types of comparisons. But secondarily, I make no reproach about who sounds like who, and I think OMD had their first releases before Echo and the Bunnymen. So again, it's not like a pedigree type of association. But again, like, if you change the voice here to McCullough's voice, I feel like this could very much sound like an Echo and the Bunnymen tune. Nevertheless, I enjoy the, like, number one, almost those like male choral sort of voices, which, like deep choral voices. I enjoy the way, the sequencing of the track, the chronology of the track. It had a bit of a lighter feel, which is interesting if I heard some of the lyrics correctly. Now, I don't know for sure, but I think maybe it is related to, like, violence in the context of civil rights and racial prejudice and so on. There's a lot of reference to black and white. Now, again, one of the references I heard, I think, was about black and white as, like, contrast, like, oh, it's so black and white, it's completely one way or completely the other. And usually when you're saying that, you're suggesting there's a lot of gray and it's not black and white. But I think here the contrast was being made more straight away. Secondarily, I think there's reference to white and black as like colors, like color of a car, color of a house. There was a line about like going down south and then like being stabbed in the back. There were also lines, what was it, like something about like change on the streets, something like that. But then also lines like, we know you very well. So yeah, I don't quite know how it all ties together, but 88 seconds is all it takes. That was definitely a line. Now, I couldn't hear the line right after that clearly, and it feels like, that's an important line that I couldn't hear clearly. But yeah, so again, maybe the idea that violence, can play out very quickly, but then the consequences of it can be much more long-lasting or significant. And again, if you're talking about going down south, now, of course, like Greensboro, North Carolina, it's in the South. That doesn't necessarily mean it's making reference to these significant historical and cultural episodes in American history, but I'm not entirely convinced that it isn't related to that either. Again, if I had to guess, I would say maybe more the massacre, and I think it was 79, but either way, I don't think it's impossible that there is a reference in that regard. Now, again, maybe it's not about that, maybe it's more just a narrative for the song that is set there. But yeah, being stabbed in the back after you go down south and you change in the streets, if I heard that correctly, it does seem to maybe suggest there's something to that. Either way, a cool tune, and it's funny because it's like, it's not totally down the experimental OMD side of the spectrum, but neither is it like catchy, very pop single sort of sounding OMD. Again, something like If You Leave, I'll always use that as a basis of comparison, though there have been a couple others that were, just as catchy and like you totally know it would be a radio hit. But yeah, I feel like this is somewhere in between. Again, almost a bit like an Echo and the Bunnymen tune, maybe a bit like a mid-80s Tears for Fears tune, so my brain made some associations on this one, but either way, a compelling tune and one that I am intrigued and curious about. So if you do have some insight, let me know. Once again, hopefully this makes its way onto Patreon or onto YouTube, not just Patreon. Maybe I'm thinking Crush because it was, the title track, and I don't know if it was the lead single, but certainly one of the singles from the album. Maybe that's why that one got blocked, but I'll admit I was surprised because there hadn't been an OMD tune blocked that I can think of before that, so in terms of my audio reactions. So I was a bit surprised there. Hopefully this one ends up on YouTube. Let me know what you think, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.